Williams here, polygraph.com. I want to talk to you attorneys out there for just a minute. I've been trying for over 40 years to try to get some of you guys to step up the plate and sue the polygraph operators for fraud or malpractice or any number of things you can sue them about, because their whole industry is built on a lie. Now, the United States federal government has outlawed the use of the polygraph in the private sector because it doesn't work. It falsely accuses people of deception. It's intrusive. All sorts of things are wrong with it. So they said, okay, now in 1988, they outlawed it in the private sector by enacting the Employee Polygraph Protection Act. I testified in that hearing, and it was helpful in getting the act passed. But it outlaws it. But on the same side, they put in one sentence in the Employee Polygraph Protection Act that exempted all police departments and federal agencies and police agencies and intelligence agencies and private vendors that needed security clearances. They exempted them from that, the provisions of that law, and so they're still running polygraph tests with no control or anything. They're just freestyling it. They're just taking it out there. And the thing about it is, they're right. The polygraph should have been outlawed in the government as well, because it doesn't work. It does falsely accuse truthful people of deception. It is intrusive. In their wisdom, the United States federal government bowed to the deep state and gave them an exemption. So they still use this thing. But how do they avoid being sued for fraud? I mean, each individual polygraph examiner, when they do this, would seem to me are liable for a charge of fraud. Why? Because the polygraph is not a lie detector. They know it is not a lie detector. Let me show you what this thing does. These little tracings up here at the top here, that's your breathing. Every time the pen moves up, that's when you take a breath in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. These little blue lines here, that's your sweat activity on your hand. More sweat activity, pen goes up. Less sweat activity, pen goes down. These tracings here are your heartbeat, cardio tracing. So what we have here is a machine that can watch you breathe, watch 2 fingers on your right hand sweat, and watch your heartbeat. Now, polygraph operators base their entire existence on the fact that they say that they can determine whether or not a person has lied by monitoring this physiological response to stress. In other words, they're measuring what's known as the fight or flight response, the body's response to a fearful stimulus. That in no way equates to deception. Well, maybe it does. 50% of the time. I'll give them that. 50% of the time. 50% of the time when you have a reaction, which would brand you as a liar, that is probably caused by deception, by the fear of deception, or the fear of being caught lying, or some such thing as that. That's what they base it on. But it's only 50% of the time, at best, at best. So let's look at this reaction that they call you a liar. So right here's one. Increase in blood pressure and pulse rate, increase in sweat activity, and an erratic breathing pattern, staircase breathing pattern. That's it. Now, this is a student that I trained. I trained him to do everything on this chart. He's in complete control of every tracing on this chart, as are all the people who learn the sting technique. But so I trained him to do this. This is a totally manipulated reaction. He did this by thinking of something frightening. He's also avoided showing any reactions on any of the relevant questions, keeping it nice and calm and even, by taking advantage of a little hypnotic strip that I trained him in, where he just goes to the beach and watches the waves come in rather than internalize the relevant questions, thereby avoiding have a reaction to the relevant questions. Anyway, so the whole thing about the polygraph is a fraud. Number one, there ain't no such thing as a lying reaction. The reactions that they brand as a liar can be caused by any number of innocent stimuli. Fear, rage at having been asked the question in the first place. Even the tone of the examiner's voice can elicit a reaction. And there's no way you can say that a person has told the truth simply because they avoided reaction. So, the reactions that they record are utterly worthless. Now, so they have this, the next thing that's a fraud about the polygraph is that they have this comparison of questions, relevant and control. Now, the theory is that relevant questions, those that pertain to the point at issue, the job application, did you lie on your job application or something? I've been in touch with foreign nationals or that sort of thing. Or if it's a criminal thing, did you steal that $10,000? Those are called relevant questions. They then intersperse amongst those relevant questions what's called control questions. Did you eat breakfast this morning? Can you drive a car? Have you lied to someone in authority to keep from getting in trouble? Have you ever deliberately hurt anyone? That sort of thing. Very general in nature and non-specific in terms of time, but those are called control questions. Now, the theory of polygraph rests on the fact that they compare relevant questions with control questions. Now, if you have a reaction, sympathetic, nervous response to a stimulus, a reaction to a relevant question, then they say that you've lied. And if you have no reaction to a control. So you have a reaction on a relevant question, like this, and no reaction on any of the controls, they say you've lied. If the reverse is true and you have a good reaction on a control question and no reaction on a relevant question, they say that you have told the truth. Now, it's a comparison, but they're comparing apples and oranges, so there again, that is not scientifically correct. Therefore, it is also a fraud. So, everything about the polygraph is a fraud. The National Academy of Scientists did a study here way back in 1995, I believe it was, where they said that and the biggest problem I have, and the way that we can get a lot of lawsuits going, is through the pre-employment polygraph examination, because people are called liars. They are denied employment. Not only are they denied employment, but they're put on a blacklist where they can't apply again because they failed this polygraph. They can't get a security clearance. They can't do anything with regard to any top-level jobs with the government because they failed polygraph testing. So they're damaged badly by that. And the polygraph operators are basing that decision on a total fraud. And they know it's a fraud. They cannot prove with any degree of accuracy that that reaction always indicates deception. And they certainly can't say that a pre-employment polygraph examination is accurate when you're dealing with many issues rather than one specific issue. That's what brings the percentage down to 50% or so, because it's just a coin toss. So we have a machine here is no better than a coin toss, has a built-in bias against the truthful person, is based on fraudulent scientific principles. Why can't we sue them? Why can't we sue polygraph operators for perpetrating a fraud? That's what they're doing. People are being damaged by that fraud. Come on now. Attorneys, get a hold of me. I will do all the background work. I have done many hours of investigation on this, and I can prove the polygraph's a fraud. I can prove it in court. And I can take my little machine up there and write my name on it, showing how easy it is to control every tracing on the chart, thus making the polygraph even more worthless. Call me. I want you to call me via secure phone, so use Signal. call me at 405-226-4856 or email me on secure email, Proton Mail. Doug Williams, Polygraph Expert at protonmail.com. I will give you all the time I can give you, free of charge, pro bono. I will provide expert witness testimony. I will help you with all the background investigation necessary to get some good clients that you can represent. Let's do this. These guys, these polygraph operators have got tons of malpractice insurance and liability insurance, and they're really surprised they haven't been sued any more than they already have. So let's make that insurance company pay off for them. They didn't pay all those premiums for nothing. Let's get some of that. Come on now.